Fierce Desi telling our stories on a global platform, an Indian filmmaker at home in the world. Mira Nair, thank you so much for being with Filmicafe.
Thank you. Great to be here. Salam.
Salam.
Salam ji.
I'm going to start with Salam then. Salam, Bombay.
Arey wah, बताइए.
25 years of that film. Just celebrated. You went to India to do that. I know you said somewhere that cinema is kind of like a disease. You are either sick or you're not. So, how cinema sick are you 25 years later?
Oh, I'm riddled with disease, totally sick, but totally happy, really, in a unbelievably humbled way about Salam Bombay. You know, we digitally retransferred the prints and we opened these beautiful new prints across India in big theaters for the young to see the film that they've usually heard about but not seen on screen. And it just felt like such a modern film even 25 years later. And to see what we've done in the 25 years with the Salam Balak Trust, with the Street Kids Foundation that we set up with the profits of the movie, was even more heartening because our kids opened this movie all in many cities in India. And it was just, it's truly one of those rare examples of art actually impacting the world one life at a time. And that's what Salam Bombay has done. And I'm really amazed to have, been the vessel through which the film came, with along many other jigri dosts who made the movie with me. Yeah.
So, you started making films with that question. Can art and cinema change the world? Can it?
Well, I've had one example of Salam Bombay that did that. I have another example. I mean, I just think films, if they are holding a mirror to the world in all its complexity and all its richness and all its contradiction and fun, even, uh, that's what I love to do in my work. Because um, I really like to take people on a ride, and transport them into worlds that they may not know before, but in showing them that world, that they see themselves in that world, and that's the heart of the beating of the Reluctant Fundamentalist as well. Because so often we don't know, America has been, or the Western world, I should say, has been engaged in a conversation with the subcontinental world for more than a decade. But it is not a conversation, it's a monologue. And, it's about time we have a dialogue. It's about time we hear what it's like from the other side. And not preaching to the converted, not just a flag waving kind of thing, but to take the hot blooded political theories that we're all bandied about with, and to distill them into the human dimension, so that in our film, it is a story of a young Pakistani man who dreams of America. It's about his conversation with an American who may be suspecting him, who may not be. It is trying to sort of lift up that mutual suspicion that we have for each other. And in our telling, I hope in the telling of this tale, that you recognize that, is this the other or is this us? Aren't we just like what we think of as the other?
Now, there were two really interesting lines in the trailer that caught my attention, and even in the film. Riz says to Kiefer Sutherland, in America, I have an equal opportunity to win. And whether you hire me or not, I'm going to win. But then you also have the other end of the conversation where he says, at a different point in the film, you picked a side after 9/11. I didn't have to. It was picked for me. So, in terms of the whole conversation, or, in terms of perception, suspicion, identity, what is it that the film will be adding to what already people think or know or believe they know?
Well, I think so many people, and not just in our movies, in our media, in what we read about the world, reduce it to two categories. The good guys, the bad guys, the black, the white, into our little compartments. And what we are trying to do in the Reluctant Fundamentalist, what Mohsin Hamid tried to do in the novel, and what we are trying to do in the movie, is to recomplicate the world. Is to say that we are not this or that, but we are more than these things. It's a line in our film. I am Pakistani, I am Muslim, but that's not all I am. I am much more than these things, and that is what you are. I am. We take in so many parts of our world, and our self gets divided in this era of globalization, you know. But we have to find out. That's why I made this film. I made it for my 21-year-old son, because him and you and all of you, we're all on this journey of finding out who we are, where we matter, where we are heard, what is the truth that they hand out to us as truth. We have to question this, you know, and and in doing so, find out who you really are and what is your voice, you know. And that's what essentially for me the Reluctant Fundamentalist is a coming of age story to a kind of consciousness of who am I. And that is a classical old universal question. Yeah.
Mohsin Hamid, who's obviously the author of the original source material on which this film is based, he said, an Indian director making a film about a Pakistani man, that's not an easy thing to do. And we know this film was taxing on you in terms of raising the finances for it, in terms of it was 5 years in the making, in terms of you almost giving up, which I don't think you would ever do, is impossible. So what was it that made you stick by it? What was it that you said, I need to do this and this is something I must do?
Well, I was in love, and I am in love. You know, I mean, it's love that carries me through it. You know, I love, for instance, just to give you an example, the music of modern day Pakistan. I'm fueled by it. And we took this music, we start with an 8-minute qawwali of Kangana in the film, which is totally woven into the drama. I love these Faiz poems that I've grown up with, you know, Bol ke lab azad hain tere, or I love Mori Araj Suno, it's another great poem of Faiz's, which we set to music in this film. Atif Aslam sings it. But when I was down and out, when the movie went up and down and collapsed twice, this is the poem I would listen to. This is the poem that would make me keep going, is Mori Araj Suno. You know, hear me out, O Lord. You know, I don't want your kingdom. I just want an ounce of respect. Bas ijjat ka tukda, he says. And if you don't heed me, I will find another God, you know, which is pretty radical stuff that Faiz wrote. And we set that to music. But that was what I kept listening to when things were rough for me. That, and I have to say, my 21-year-old, my Zoran, our son, and my husband Mahmood. I mean, normally any filmmaker's family has to pay a pretty high price for the filmmaker to always leave the family and go off and make movies. And I hate to do that, but I have to do that with some movies. With this movie, although once I came to a point of almost giving up, it was my son and my husband who just said, no, this you have to keep going. The world has to see this movie. It really has to exist in the world. So between the power of its own, what we're trying to say in the movie, and between the love I have around me, and between, you know, the artists before me who have helped me along this journey, that's what kept me going.
Bol ke lab azad hain tere, Faiz Ahmed Faiz's poem, which Atif has given voice to, is your dad's favorite poem. Is that right?
Well, not my dad's only favorite poem. He had many, but this was a poem that I brought to Peter Gabriel, and Peter did the soundtrack for that which is the last end credits of our movie, where he sang and Atif sang the Urdu verse, and it's a beautiful, beautiful song.
Now, we've talked about Atif Aslam. He has sung 2 of the songs in the film. I want to talk about 2 other interesting gentlemen that are on this film with you. Obviously, the main lead, Riz Ahmed, and Shimit Amin, who is the editor on this film, which I was shocked to find out when I was reading the credits. So what was it about these 2 gentlemen that caught your eye and you said, these are the perfect guys for the job at hand?
Well, you know, the person to cast, you know, the person as Chengiz carries this film, you know, and it took me a year and a half to find the most amazing Chengiz in Riz Ahmed. You know, I started in Pakistan, India, America, went back to London, and finally Riz walked into a room, and I just handed him the scene in which he insults his father at the wedding, and he just got it in a cold reading. He just understood what sharam is, what izzat is, what the honor and the shame that is so much in the heart of how we are. And what an amazing work he has done in this film, because it's like, you know, casting an Italian American to play an Italian. He has to be as authentic as any Lahori. And even though he's Karachi born, from a Pakistani family in England, he's an English bloke, and he had to learn the Lahori accent in English, in Urdu, then the patina of the Ivy League, then, I mean, all of it, all of it. And he does it with such elegance and ease that all the Lahoris think he's a Lahori, which is fantastic. Well, Shimit Amin, I've always admired so much as a director. Chak De India, Ab Tak Chappan, and Rocket Singh as well. And I invited him to be the artistic director of Maisha, our film school in East Africa, in Kampala. And he came because he's oddly born in Kampala, and he hadn't returned after the expulsion of the Asians in '72. So he happily came, and that was the time our film collapsed for the second time in India, and I had to come home back to Kampala, really broken and disappointed about what I'm going to do. And it was in a discussion with Shimit where he said, we can make this film. We'll just do the post-production in India and we'll save $1 million and we'll do everything there and we'll make it, because once everything scatters, once the movie stars, it just all can fall apart in a second. And I said, who'll edit the movie? Because editing is really the heart of it for me. And he said, I'm an editor. I was an editor for 10 years in America, doing this and that before I went to India, and I had no idea. And I said, Shimit, you're a great director. How are you going to edit my movie? And he said, no, I love your work, and I would kill. He said, I would kill to do it. And then we talked more, and he's just an amazing guy. He's such a egoless, giver into the whole process of making art and movies. And it was the greatest blessing. And so Shimit edited the film. He gave me a year of his life. But I'm happy to tell you that I am now producing a film that he's directing.
Now that is breaking news. Shimit Amin is directing a film produced by Mira Nair. So how is that going to be for him when the roles reverse?
No. I'll only be angelic producer. Other people will also produce. But it's a subject he loves, and I just want to support him in anything he wants to do.
That's phenomenal. So given that you had South Asian gentleman, a Pakistani man, as the male lead, how easy or difficult was it to convince big stars, essentially, to be a part as the foil or the supporting actors? Was that easy? Did you have to do a lot to get them on board? How did that work out for you?
I mean, that's what the beauty of this film is. It's not only a Indian film, Indian director making a Pakistani film, but also a Pakistani South Asian hero, essentially supported by the leading lights of the world, not just the Hollywood world in Kate and Kiefer and Liev, but also the Bollywood world in Om Puri and Shabana Azmi and so on. So I think, we had a wonderful screenplay after the 3 years it took to work on it. Bill Wheeler had done an amazing job, and when people read that screenplay, and between the screenplay and kind of what my body of work is, I easily got meetings with all of these people. And Liev, I first offered Liev the role that Kiefer plays in the film Jim Cross, and he called me and said, let's have lunch. I really would love to play the other character, Bobby Lincoln. And I've loved Liev. He's just got such stature as an actor, and he really raises the bar on everything. And we had lunch, and I immediately was convinced he could play Bobby. So he was the first one confirmed casting. And then I went to Kiefer, and he just, he kept saying it would be his honor to be in this film. I don't know whether it's an atonement for Jack Bauer or what, but he just felt like, so often we don't see the realm of the mistakes that we have made in this world. And this film gives us another point of view. And so he was with us unbelievably right through the roller coaster of financing. And then I met Kate Hudson, and she, the agents had just forgotten to tell me that she was 8 months pregnant. So we were shooting in a month from now. So then when I opened the door to her home and saw her belly, I just started laughing, because, it was an impossibility to have her play Erica. And she saw me see her, and she started laughing too. So we just really got along, and decided the movie was not going to happen, so let's just have a good time. So we did, and then I went off to make the movie, and then it fell apart. and it took like 2 months to set it up again. And during that time, she'd had the baby, and she kept texting me pretty much from hospitals everywhere. And and 1 month later, when the baby was 2 months old, she came to our set without any entourage, with such an amazing attitude, of no pretension and absolutely unfettered. She's a really free spirit who believes in brave performance. I love her performance. And, she brought, I think, that humanity and vulnerability and reality to herself, which she's not often asked to do. And I just loved working with her.
Now, life seems to have come like almost a full circle from you studying first at Harvard to making this film about America. When you were studying at Harvard, I'd be interested to know, were you in pursuit of a dream, whether it was an American dream or otherwise? And is there such a thing as the American dream today?
I came to study in in America, not to be an immigrant here, not in pursuit of whatever that is called, the American dream. But I was a real recipient of the openness in America, the incredible encouragement one gets if you show any kind of talent at all. People really hoist you up. It's very different in our part of the world. And I loved that about being here. And in fact, that's the characteristic I gave to Kiefer's role in this movie, that regardless of 9/11, regardless of a Muslim man, a beard, who after 9/11 in America, in New York City, this man, Kiefer's role, promotes Chengiz, as the youngest partner in that company, because the merit is speaking louder than anything else. And that type of way of encouragement is a beautiful thing. And so I didn't pursue the American dream, but I pursued my own crazy quest, of making films at a time when India was barely known, and I started with documentaries which they didn't even see at home, which my family didn't even see. And it was like when I came to making Salam Bombay, which was the first feature film, that I had the first kind of really big international audience. And it's a real privilege, to reach people across the world. And I try to use that privilege with care, and also with some masti.
Is there a good time and a bad time or not so good time for a film like this, or is this just the right time we need to get this out there?
I think there are good times and bad times for movies. I think you have to have the maturity and experience to make movies of certain natures. Like when I was making a big film on the life of Buddha when I was 32 years old, and it collapsed after a year of work, I felt that is good, because I didn't have the wisdom to make the film about the life of Buddha at 32. But similarly, I feel with the Reluctant Fundamentalist, I mean, it's good to, we needed this decade, post 9/11, to understand the complexity, to understand also what has become of the world in these 12 years, that the policies that we have seen around us have created nothing but war and confusion. And it's about time, really, the time is now, to have a dialogue, to get beyond the monologue that we have been fed. And it's actually the right time, because I've seen so much from the Western world, of people of American soldiers going to Iraq, going to Afghanistan, going to Iran, going all over the world. But you will almost never find an Iraqi character who even has a name, or a Persian person who has any kind of character. They are just a wash of kind of, either mullahs or a kind of hysteria that we who come from those parts of the world don't even recognize. I mean, who would think in Pakistan that there's the longest running comedy serial called Jat and Bond, and that there are Bond chicks running around as TV actresses? I mean, it's the last thing you understand, And that's true. When I went to Pakistan, that's what I saw, And so we made Chengiz's sister in the movie, played by lovely singer Misha Shafi, a Bond chick, and it's not what I thought I would find, but we don't know, So it's about time, we bring this monologue that has been fed to us and insist on making it a dialogue.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Mira, having this dialogue with you. Reluctant Fundamentalist is an important film for our times, so do go watch it when it hits theaters.